Okay. Hello, John. My name is Trayvon White, and this is my ENVD 2101 project, the redesign of Center Court Park in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So what is it? This project, again, like I said, is a redesign of a skate park slash basketball court near my home in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and it's called Center Court Park. Rejuvenating Cinder Core Park in southeast Colorado Springs is important to me because it's located in my neighborhood subdivision. Me and my friends have been here countless times between the last 8 years that we've lived nearby. And as teenagers, I think going to the park with your friends is just something that you're gonna do, right? But this park is just extremely sad and it doesn't exude fun or excitement. And my friends are always trying to drag me there, and I'm like, oh, like, do we have to? Yeah, but this would be, important to the community at large because, restoring green spaces, especially a place like a park I think is just so vital to human life, honestly. That's just really important. And I've had some conversations with neighbors and other community members who describe the park as terrible or bad. And there's also a community Facebook page that talks about things in the community, including things that they don't like or should see changed, including this park. And then I just included a couple of images of what this park looks like, so you can get an idea. But as you can see in the top image, the pavement is fading in color. There's cracks in the pavements, the metal. You can see it rusting, and it just doesn't look super safe or even sanitary, I'm not going to lie. So, yeah. Where is it? So, like I said, this is in southeast Colorado Springs. To give more context, we'll go back to that first map. Sorry, it's a little blurry. I thought it was a little bit better, but you can see down there in the red box is this zoomed in. My street is actually right up here called Bryce Canyon, and my best friend lives on this. It's called Desert Lily Circle, but we meet right here in the middle and head on our journey. We go here, 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 and then there's a park here that we always just cross over to come to this skate park. Usually there's a lot of like younger kids here, so this is like the older, kid park. This is a little bit closer, just showing more context of this area, and then this is the site itself. You can see that it follows very rectilinear like form factor, very boring. It's a rectangle here, and even the parking lot is a rectangle. So yeah. In terms of SWOT diagram, I just wanted to talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So some strengths are that it's a central neighborhood location within walking distance. Me and my friends walk here every single time. We like to take our time on our walks, but I would say if you're keeping a very normal pace, you could probably get here in 20 minutes from my house. It's about a mile walk. There's existing athletic court, the basketball courts, and the area for skaters. There's also a lot of open space surrounding the park, and it has a lot of daily use despite the condition it is in now. There's also mature trees nearby. Let me go back to, sorry about that. You can see in these photos, there's a lot of big mature trees nearby, even some just directly adjacent. So things like that. There's also community familiarity and attachment. Even just coming from me and my friends, like this is our park. That's what it feels like. In terms of some weaknesses, it is aging and deteriorating. Infrastructure. The sports court is worn out. The skate equipment is outdated, not super safe anymore. There's just not a lot of lighting, and it restricts the use to daylight hours. There's space and amenities. Or sparse, my bad, amenities such as shade, water, and pathways. There's nowhere for people to get water. There's no kind of like public bathroom, anything like that. And also just limited biodiversity, and there's no ecological landscaping. It's just a bunch of concrete. And for opportunities, there's a strong community desire for revitalization. There's an ability to introduce sustainable elements like better landscaping, stormwater features, pollinator gardens, you name it. We could also transform the courts in the skate area into a more inclusive multi-use space. So not just for those two activities in particular, but we can keep those around. Just better circulation. And in terms of threats, kind of just ongoing underinvestment in South Colorado Springs. Some safety concerns because of low light at nighttime, climate stress because the entire thing once again is just poured in concrete, and also vandalism. In terms of community engagement, this project will engage with people who use and rely on this park on a day-to-day basis. So some key participants would include residents like myself, or families, or any other teenagers who want to gather on these, spaces after school or with their friends as well. Also, older adults who just like to walk and, get their exercise, things like that. We could also involve Southeast COS, the RISE Coalition Neighborhood Associations, and the Colorado Springs Parks and Recreation to play roles in the long-term planning and maintenance of this redesign. And today, the people who are affected the most are residents who depend on the park, once again, as kind of their accessible green space. In South Colorado Springs, there's very few, so it's important that we kind of keep them going. And also just teens who are impacted by the outdated courts and the skate things. Me and my friends, we play basketball, we know how to skate, but it's not a very enjoyable experience when we're there. And yeah, in the years to come, all of these groups and generations will just benefit from a safer and greener design. In terms of the history of the site, it was just a small community area. It was a basketball court, or me and my friends call it the skate park, in parentheses because it's not very good at doing that, but, I digress. Over the years, the infrastructure has just aged badly, and there's not been a lot of upgrades. The surrounding neighborhood context, it's just young families, diverse households. The families in the neighborhood surrounding it specifically are a little bit older, and then everyone in my neighborhood, kind of a little division, is a little bit younger, some military people who are, new parents. So that would be important for them. The current park design, very basic, once again, very rectilinear. Basketball courts to the left, divide in the middle, skate to the right. Very plain and simple and dry, nothing interesting. This long path to the parking lot over here. Again, just a section showing that, axonometric, showing the very few skate amenities. And yeah, just showing how bare bones it currently is. And then hopefully this could turn into kind of just complete redesign, keeping the basketball courts kind of in that same position, but, updating them, making them more interesting, as well as instead of, having that flat basis for the skaters, giving them a bowl, letting them actually roam free in those hobbies and trying to get better at, their skills, things like that. So here is the existing footprint in the red, but I wanted to think about an addition, just extending a couple more feet here, just opportunity for more native plants, as I had mentioned before, idea of some community gardens, things like that, and maybe space over here would be for the community to decide, but do we want a gazebo, do we want a little playground installation, something like that, but just allowing the community to have a say. In terms of the project development timeline for this one, there is a neighborhood that is being built, I would say a fourth of a mile away. And so obviously that project is, first in their hands. So I would say community pitch would be around spring of next year, then the board approval about this time next year, with designing and permitting from April to September of 2027, and then construction hopefully like March to August of 2028 around the completion of that other neighborhood subdivision. The average project timeline for a project of this size would be about 12 to 24 months, or 2 to 3, just depending on things going on at the time, and political cycles do affect the project timeline, just because of leadership changes, budget priorities, and park funding allocations, which can play a part in speeding up and slowing down the process. In terms of some inspiration I found, this area is just community gardens and, some native plants and just an increase in biodiversity and showing how youth and children interact with spaces of those sorts. This is my inspiration for the skate park, just having a bowl, just a little bit more interesting for those skaters. Trying to get out there and do their thing. And for the basketball court, for those young aspiring athletes to be able to play on a nice, new, freshly laid court with really good hoops, and not cracks in the pavement, also at risk of injury or anything like that. And so yeah, this is my project for redesigning Center Court Park. I hope you enjoyed it. And I also wanted to add this little segment here, but I wanted to say thank you, John. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm sure having a Zoom class with 150-ish college students is rough, and so I commend you. Obviously, there's some personal matters that withheld you from teaching us in person, but for what it was, you did a great job. And I hope everything is well with your family, and I hope that you can make a return to Boulder soon. Just go Buffs!